Will this just be, is a path for LLMs to have this sort of tree search kind of thing on top of them? How do you think about this?
I think that's a super promising direction, in my opinion. So, we've got to carry on improving the large models, and we've got to carry on basically making them more and more accurate predictors of the world. So in effect, making them more and more reliable world models. That's clearly a necessary, but I would say probably not sufficient component of an AGI system. And then on top of that, we're working on things like AlphaZero like planning mechanisms on top that make use of that model in order to make concrete plans to achieve certain goals in the world, and perhaps sort of chain thought together, or lines of reasoning together, and maybe use search to kind of explore massive spaces of possibility. I think that's kind of missing from our current large models.
How do you get past the sort of immense amount of compute that these approaches tend to require? So even the AlphaGo system was, a pretty expensive system, because you had to do this sort of run an LLM on each node of the tree. How do you anticipate that'll get made more efficient?
Well, I mean, one thing is Moore's law tends to help if over every year, of course, more computation comes in. But we focus a lot on efficient, sample efficient methods and reusing existing data, things like experience replay, and also just looking at more efficient ways. I mean, the better your world model is, the more efficient your search can be. So one example I always give with AlphaZero, our system to play Go and chess and any game, is that it's stronger than human world champion level at all these games, and it uses a lot less search than a brute force method, like Deep Blue, say, to play chess. Deep Blue, one of these traditional Stockfish or Deep Blue systems would maybe look at millions of possible moves for every decision it's going to make. AlphaZero and AlphaGo looked at around tens of thousands of possible positions in order to make a decision about what to move next. But a human grandmaster, a human world champion, probably only looks at a few hundreds of moves, even the top ones, in order to make their very good decision about what to play next. So that suggests that obviously the brute force systems don't have any real model other than the heuristics about the game. AlphaZero has quite a decent model, but the top human players have a much richer, much more accurate model than of Go or chess. So that allows them to make world-class decisions on a very small amount of search. So I think there's a sort of trade-off there. Like, if you improve the models, then I think your search can be more efficient, and therefore you can get further with your search. Well, look, I think it's different because our brains are not built for doing Monte Carlo tree search, right? It's just not the way our organic brains would work. So I think that in order to compensate for that, people like Einstein have come up, their brains have, using their intuition, and, we can maybe come to what intuition is, but they use their sort of knowledge and their experience to build extremely, in Einstein's case, extremely accurate models of physics, including these sort of mental simulations. I think if you read about Einstein and how he came up with things, he used to visualize and sort of really kind of feel what these physical systems should be like, not just the mathematics of it, but have a really intuitive feel for what they would be like in reality. And that allowed him to think these sort of very outlandish thoughts at the time. So I think that it's the sophistication of the world models that we're building, which then, if you imagine your world model can get you to a certain node in a tree that you're searching, and then you just do a little bit of search around that node, that leaf node, and that gets you to these original places. But obviously, if your model and your judgment on that model is very, very good, then you can pick which leaf nodes you should sort of expand with search much more accurately. So therefore, overall, you do a lot less search. I mean, there's no way that, any human could do a kind of brute force search over any kind of significant space.